Welcome to episode 8 of Motor Trade Talk with me, Nick McDonald, and Steve Corwood.
Hello.
Today we're joined by Jason. Jason Cox is a motor trader with quite an interesting backstory and some cool stuff he's doing with new startup motor traders. Some really interesting info today. So we'll just get into the intro and then we're going to have a good chat. Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Nick. It's nice to be here.
Is that you telling me that I'm being overly formal now compared to how we usually talk, yeah?
No, it's just, isn't that how they normally do it on chat shows and news segments when they have the guest on? They go, thanks very much, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here.
They do, but just to warn everyone who's listening, Jason will swear more than most of your usual chat show guests, so it's definitely not going to be like Oprah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure how good your editing skills are with the bleeps, but they're going to need to be good.
I don't think we're too fussed about that.
Well,
No.
I mean, if you drag my ass out of 8:45 in the morning out of bed, when Tam and the kids are away and I could have justified a lay-in and got away with it, it expects some swearing now.
Absolutely fine. So, Jason, tell us a little bit about how you got started in the motor trade first.
Right, okay. So, I started when I was about 20 years old. Started off in new car sales, then went on to used car sales, then business manager, and then just got to a point where I just had enough of customers and I just needed a bit of a break. And I'd had a child, and I just felt like I was living in Plymouth and I was working in Exeter, so every day was like a 12-hour day with commuting. And I was a business manager at that point, and I really hated, I liked the job. In fact, it was probably the best bit about the motor trade because I liked doing the bit where I didn't really have to deal with the customer so much. I had a decent sales team. They would deal with the customer. I would then run in, get all the money out of the customer, sell them a load of products, sell them a load of finance, take as much as I could from them and run away. It was sort of like a 3-minute interaction, and that's how we earned, all of our money. And I really liked that job, but what I hated was the fact that my salary was capped at 45 grand a year. No matter how well I did, it was capped at 45 grand a year, and my numbers were untouchable by anyone else in the company.
That must be frustrating for a start.
Yeah, it is, and it's not in my nature to do a shit job.
Yeah,
because my numbers were so good, even though I wasn't benefiting from them being that good, I didn't want anyone else to get close to my numbers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that really annoyed me. So I thought I'm going to leave for a couple of years and have a break, which I did. And it was a really good thing for me to do. Then I went back into selling used cars because it's easy money. And then COVID hit. And we were all sent home. They said, go home and have a holiday for 3 months on with 90% of your salary or whatever it was. And I didn't know what was going to happen coming out of COVID because no one had ever seen anything like it before. I didn't know if there was going to be a recession. I didn't know if there was going to be enough business to return to. I didn't know if I was going to be made redundant. So as a backup plan, I just started trading some cars from home. And within 3 months, I was doing as well from home as I was working for them. So they then, when they started to ease the restrictions and do click and collect, they said, do you want to come out part-time? And I said, no, not really, because I know what will happen. I'll pick up an inquiry on Monday. I won't be there on the Wednesday. Someone else will deal them up and I'll miss out.
Yeah.
So they said, well, if you don't want to come back part-time, do you want to come back full-time? And I went, no, I don't really want to do that either, to be honest. And I just didn't bother going back. And they were like, what do you mean you don't want to come back? And I said, well, I don't really want to come back. I'm doing this now. I know it's, I know it's a conflict of interest in your contract and stuff, but it doesn't really matter now if I'm not coming back. So I just carried on staying at home. And then I just started putting some stuff up on YouTube because I thought, well, if I'm here doing it anyway, why not record it and just see what happens? And then the YouTube channel started to take off. And then we got monetized on YouTube. So I started to focus on it a little bit more, but I just kept getting people saying, how do I do this? How do I do that? Can you help me with this? Can I speak to you personally? Stuff like that. And I can't do it for everybody, nor would I want to, which when your channel starts to take off, you'll realize how many lunatics are on YouTube. So I just spent 20 quid on Wix and just built a membership website.
Yeah.
And within the first month, I think we had like 80 people sign up, and I was charging, I don't know, like 50 quid a month, something like that. And all it was a membership website where I would record the training modules to do with buying and selling cars. And they could go on there, view them. There was a social media side, bits and pieces like that. Once it started to gain some traction, I took the money from that. And then I thought, well, let's get a web developer and build it properly. So then we started off the new website where we've got all the training modules, but now we've built in just so much more. So now anybody coming onto the website who's interested in buying and selling cars and wants to learn about buying and selling cars, but doing it the right way and legally and ethically and keeping HMRC on side and, you know, not skirting their obligations under the Consumer Rights Act, they can come onto the website. They can go through all the training modules. We've got a document section in there with like loads of approved documents they can use, such as terms, conditions, order forms, spreadsheets, bits and pieces like that. We've got warranties. So as soon as they start selling cars, they can attach warranties to them. They don't have to be VAT registered. They don't even have to be registered as self-employed. Yeah. But what I wanted to do was make sure they have access to that facility so their customer is looked after and that motor dealer isn't shitting his pants thinking, I now have to keep this money in the bank for 6 months and not buy another car just in case they exercise their right to rejection. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you're starting out, I always thought the hardest bit is starting out. Because if you've got a very small amount of money that you need to turn into something, how do you do that?
It's very difficult. And do you sort of give them do you recommend to them like an amount of money that they should start with? You know, do you give them that sort of insight into, well, you know, if you're going to start out, you need to be doing it with a minimum of X, Y, and Z?
No, because I started with 200 quid.
Bloody hell. Fair play.
That's what I started with. I mean, we were in furlough, we were on lockdown. We'd had, you know, a good couple of months at home in the sunshine. We redid the back garden, had loads of family time, and then it just got to a point where I was a bit itchy.
Yeah.
And I needed to do something. And I just found a little Peugeot 206 on Facebook that some sort of scrap dealer was selling, but it turned out it was his disabled neighbour's car and she couldn't drive anymore. So there was absolutely nothing wrong with the vehicle, but it hadn't been MOT'd for like 2 years because it had just been sat there. So I went out, had a look at it. He had it up for 500 quid. I knocked him down to 200 quid and drove the car home.
Brilliant.
And then did all the paint work and stuff like that myself. Obviously, I had to put it through the workshop and get it all done properly, which cost a little bit more. But then I sold it for 1,500 quid.
Happy days.
So then I took that 1,500 quid and then bought, say, another 2 cars. And then bought another, and then just kept rolling. And then I got to a point where I wanted to up the level of stock, not as in units, but I wanted to have a better quality stock profile. So then I halved the amount of stock I was carrying and thought, right, well, let's go for cars that are under 10 years old and, you know, try and get as close to 100,000 miles or under as possible.
Yeah.
Because the reconditioning costs are just that little bit lower. And that's kind of where I've been running since. I have changed it up a little bit every now and then. But I just wanted to create something where someone would be able to go in there, start operating as soon as they've signed up, and be able to do it at a main dealer professional level where they can offer warranties and bits and pieces like that. Because I think the problem is, if you're a new person looking at getting into the motor trade, there's 2 things you have to take into consideration. Once you've sold that car as a trader, because if you've sold it for profit, let's be honest, you're a trader. Yeah, there's no ifs or buts or maybes. All it takes is for someone to run a HBR report, see you owned that car for 2 fucking weeks, and know that you didn't really own it. You know, you don't have to be Sherlock to figure that out. But if they sell a car and they get the money for it, they've got 2 options. They either keep that money in the bank in case they ever need to refund that customer within the first 6 months, in which case that money's not earning them more money. Or they can use that money, buy more stock, and hope that if that customer rejects the car, they somehow manage to get that money out of their current stock to refund that customer. It's a big risk for someone starting out. Whereas if they have access to a warranty facility straight away, it really eliminates that risk.
Yeah, and do you think there's a certain amount of people that are like oblivious, or they think, what kind of percentage do you think of people that want to be a car dealer don't understand all of these other things like consumer rights, warranties, everything else that comes with it, and the costs that could be associated to pre-prepping a car. Because, I've had conversations with people in the past and they're quite blasé. They think, oh, it's quite simple. You buy a car, basically you wash it down and you chuck it on forecourt, or you chuck it on sale, which is exactly what you're combating against. But do you think there's a fair amount of people that don't understand that process, even if they've been in car dealership backgrounds?
Yeah, I think let's be honest, there's always going to be those horrible little wankers that are just buying and selling shit and ripping people off and hoping they can get away with it.
Yeah.
But let's assume that the world's a good place and, some of the people don't want to be like that. They just don't have the information. But I think even if people have been in the dealership background, I still don't think everyone's fully aware of what their obligations are under the Consumer Rights Act, how far you need to take things, what level of preparation you need to do, what should your responsibility to your customer be. And I think if you're just starting out, I think there's a massive gap of people just not having access to that knowledge, because realistically, you wouldn't need access to that knowledge unless you're doing it for yourself. Even if you're working in a main dealer background, you're going to have some of that knowledge because you have to do your FCA exams and stuff. But there's always going to be someone above you making sure everything's taken care of to make sure the dealership doesn't get in trouble.
Yeah, I always found, like, when I was in main agent and, until you sort of move up into sort of management levels, your arse, and even then, your arse is wiped for you. So everything that's going on around you, you just take it for granted. And then, like you say, when you venture off in your own direction, you come across quite a few hurdles. You don't have the knowledge to learn quick. Even though, I was in dealerships for 12 years or something like that before I started on my own.
Yeah.
And even then, the last sort of 8, 9, getting on towards 10 years, and we're still learning, aren't we?
I think sorry, Jason, go on.
Well, I think that's the other side of it. Is I think if I think back to when I first started in the motor trade, yes, there was compliance, yes, there was this and that and the other, but I don't remember, and whether or not I was oblivious to it at the time or I just wasn't in the right position, but I genuinely believe things are just changing so much quicker now that it's almost a full-time job just to keep up with what's fucking changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're starting out on your own, so, like my day-to-day, obviously I'm buying and selling cars. I need to get them through the workshop. I prep everything myself. I do 90% of the bodywork myself because I can paint and I can do all of that. Then I've got the academy, which needs to be done. Then obviously we've got our own range of detailing products that we run. Then we've got our YouTube channel that we run. That's enough to be getting on with without even taking into consideration all the other bollocks that's changing around you that you have to try and keep up to date with.
More than enough, innit?
Yeah, and that's what I wanted in the academy. Is I almost wanted a platform as well where eventually we can turn it into, let's take all of the information from Auto Trader, take all the updates from eBay, let's take all the information from Nick and anyone else or anyone like that. Let's turn it into bite-sized, digestible chunks that's actually in a motor dealer's language that they can absorb and learn from.
Yeah, and then there's the element, I think, like, we've got to use people like Nick's and John's service and the warranty services to a full degree where we can, because we can sort of we have a knowledge upon customer consumer rights to a degree, but it's like we've had lately, and Nick's had a couple of bit more than you would normally have from us, haven't you, lately, in terms of this stuff like SARS request and people requesting what data is being held on them. It's starting to see, depending, I suppose, on what sort of area of the market you're in, what type of volume you're in. But these things, again, this is new. Kind of, it's not. I think we've had like 2 requests in the last couple of weeks. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah, plus another complaint we had to deal with.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is, like, obviously, I've got a compliance firm, so it's kind of easy to think, Nick's on top of absolutely everything can get done. We've tried to do marketing in-house, and we do a lot of off-the-cuff marketing in-house. But some of the things we've wanted to deliver, we've just realised just took so long to try and deliver internally because of everything else that's going on. And we're an organised company. We have to be kind of because of what we do. But then it got to the point where we were like, well, look, we actually need to get someone else to help with this, and it's actually cheaper to outsource it, not because of the cost, because it's so easy to think, oh, if we're doing it ourselves, there's no cost. But time is a cost, and time is the only thing that we have a limited supply of. So, well, we haven't got an unlimited supply of money, but you know what I mean? Time as a business owner is the most precious thing you've got. And, we even say to our clients, it's like, well, how long would it take to do this? And if you had to pay yourself an hourly wage, what would that hourly wage be? Well, if it's going to take you 3 hours and you would pay yourself £50 an hour, if you can get that job done for 150 quid or less, outsource it and have your time back. And like Jason said, there is so much that needs doing in a day that you do have to kind of pick and choose where you get people to help. And that could just be helping information. It could be Jason's platform I can jump on there and in 5 minutes I can know what I need to do instead of going and learning myself.
Well, I think gone are the days where dealers are competing against each other. I think we're now getting to a point now where, and that's kind of what I wanted to do with this platform, is have someone where everyone can actually just get together and go, right, the market's shit, how do we combat it? This is shit, how do we combat it? There's these changes, what's everyone doing to stay above board? Because there's so many new players in the market, there's so many disruptors in the market, there's always something going on that's fucking something up for someone. And I think gone are the days where people are actually trying to withhold information and trying to go, well, this is my little secret because it works for me. Taking in like this month, let's take this month as an example. Okay, so I started to look at, the Ukraine war and everything that was going on, and obviously rising bills and energy costs and all of that. And I started thinking, right, let's look at the news and look at social media, because it doesn't really matter what the news says. What matters is how people perceive that news and what they're going to do with that information. Stocks don't go up and down because someone said something. Stocks go up and down because someone reacted to what someone said, and then everyone else reacted the same way.
True.
So I looked at my stock and I thought, right, let's change my stock profile for the next couple of months, and let's go for stuff that's over 100,000 miles, but newer plates. Because people are magpies. They want a shiny bit of kit. They're probably coming out of company cars or lease vehicles trying to consolidate some money. They're still going to want something that looks the business on their driveway, but they're not going to want to spend a huge amount. I changed my stock profile, and then this month I did just shy of £7,000 profit off my driveway. There's other people in the academy, one of which I know a couple of which I know are looking at going back to their old jobs. And I know for a fact it's because they have not paid attention to the modules we released. I know they didn't change their images like we told them to. I know they haven't done sales videos. Me and Christian spent a weekend creating modules on how to get professional looking images from a mobile phone, how to get sales videos, how to edit your images, how to edit your videos. And since me and Christian have made these changes ourselves, using our own content, we've been absolutely flying this month, and watching everyone else saying that they're dying.
I think I love the fact. Sorry, Nick, you were about to go there. This is the thing. I think what people need to understand, and we're constantly at exactly the same as you. Stock profile might be a bit different for us than what it is for you. But, we've done the same. We've changed our stock profile. So, what we were predominantly doing, and I took exactly the same approach. We're seeing people coming out of a 25 grand Range Rover and wanting to go into something that's 8, 9, 10 grand. Or they're coming out of a £350, £400 a month payment and wanting to be spending £200, £250 a month. So, we've took our exactly the same thing, but you've got to take notice to what's going on in the market, and you've got to adjust to it. I think there's a certain amount of blasé about, well, I'll just buy the car, stick it on Auto Trader, give it a good click, wait for the phone to ring. There is a lot more to selling cars than what people think or what the general public, and maybe this comes back to, again, going back into the main agent world or working for a car dealership where your arse is always white for you because you've never had them problems to look at stock profile, where your advert should be, quality of how it should be, you know, whether it's a video, whether it's your images, you know, if we go back and look at something, it's over age. Why is it over age? Right, let's redo all the images. Something's not quite right. And they're the things that you've got to constantly monitor, aren't they?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. I think there's, for me, the way I see selling a car is the actual sale is 3% of the entire process. It's everything up to that, which is what sells you the car. It's buying it at the right price where you've got enough margin, you know, making sure it's HPI clear, looking at the MOT reports, knowing what sort of money you're going to have to spend on it, doing a proper job through the workshop. And then for me, 50% of the battle is cosmetics, making sure it looks the fucking business on the images, which means detailing it properly. If it takes 2 days, take the 2 fucking days to make sure it's done inside and out. Do all the door jams, do the engine bay, make sure it looks spot on, because you're going to get one opportunity to really impress someone with this car. You don't know when your next inquiry is going to come after that, especially at the moment when it's a bit quiet. Once you've done that...
Sorry to interrupt you, Jason. You know, there, I like the fact that you say, you know, you might get the one opportunity. And that do you reckon that changes when you go into the world of working for yourself? Because that's the way I still look at everything every day I wake up. Might not, you know, that one inquiry, I'm like, you know, if I see it come through to our, you know, we've got a sales team, but I'm thinking, that needs to deal, boys. You know, that's a deal. That's a deal. You know, it's that one inquiry, that one opportunity that you get that you think everything's a deal. We need to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure it's a deal. And do you find that more, do you think, when you step outside of, I don't know if it was for me, because I still thought in the dealership world, and Nick, you'll probably have been the same, you know, you get your one chance that day, you might not deal someone else. So I'm dealing
I always think that everyone's very quick to blame the customer for why that customer didn't buy. And like Jason said, you will get some idiots who, you know, like just like you get on YouTube, you'll get idiot buyers. But the truth is, there aren't many people who want to waste their time making inquiries, looking for cars, and definitely not coming to see one if they're that much of an idiot. So I'm always a fan of saying, what could I have done differently? And if you don't sell that car, there's usually something you could have done differently. Certainly won't be that 10 buyers didn't buy it and it was all their faults. You know what I mean? Like,
so how much would you then think like some of this comes down to a mindset approach, not just in terms of how you're prepping everything, the way that you look at your images and everything else, but mindset of an individual when they're approaching a customer or potential deal? I know it sounds like really cliche mindset, but I
don't think it's cliche at all. I think that's 100% spot on. I think so. The way I view it is, I'll make sure the car is absolutely spot on, do the best job I can. I'll make sure my video is spot on and edited properly. I'll make sure my images are done properly. If like this time of the year, I have to wait until 8:30 at night before I can photograph a car, because that's when the light is best. And where I'm photographing it, I've got a grey background. I want it all on that vehicle. I want it to have a nice shine, but not be washed out by sunlight. So I make all this extra effort to make sure everything is done spot on, because I think 90% of the battle is even getting that inquiry.
Yeah.
And then once I've got those inquiries, I can get 90% of the people I sell to. Someone's at my door. 2 seconds.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all good.
We can cut this bit out, Nick.
Yeah, that's fine.
Have a toot on the tutor.
Sorry.
Was it the Amazon man?
24 minutes.
No, that was actually the post lady picking up this morning's batch of brain dead detailing products that are being sent out to people. Right. So
90% of the
I think 90% of the battle was even getting in the inquiry. But I can guarantee you 90% of the people I sell cars to, they're the first person to view the vehicle. The first person, 90% of the time, that views that vehicle buys it because it looks the fucking business and doesn't look worse in person than it does in the picture.
That's a big thing, yeah.
And that's a big thing. And then the other 10% are dickheads I don't want to fucking sell cars to.
Which is perfect. Win-win
situation.
situation.
So they're the people that come along, they're expecting a brand new car. looking at a car that's done 117,000 miles and is 10 years old. And they're going, well, this needs doing and that needs doing. No, it doesn't need doing. You want it done. There's a big difference. And I don't need to sell it to you because I can sell it to someone else tomorrow who won't want those things doing because they understand as a normal, rational human being, it's a 10-year-old car that's done 117,000 miles and appreciate the level of effort I've gone to.
Well, setting customer expectations really is when you're selling a 10-year-old car, 117,000 miles, you know, you can approach it with the right attitude from the start. You know, look, it's a 110,000 mile car. Like you say, people's expectations, we all know, we've all been in the trade long enough, some of them are just absolutely mental. They need to go and buy a brand new car out the showroom, and even then they're going to say,
and even then they're not going to be happy. And there is such a thing as bad business. Okay, let's all be honest about this. There are such customers that will cost you more money in the long run. Definitely. And I don't think anyone should feel bad about going, I don't want to sell you a car, and thinking you've lost an opportunity. You haven't lost an opportunity. You've gained an opportunity to sell it to someone else who's going to be nice and pleasant to deal with and not cost you money in the long run, and appreciate it's a fucking car. It's built with hundreds of thousands of components. It's going to require regular maintenance.
This is another learning curve, though, isn't it, Jason, really, from going from working for someone to working for yourself? Because when you're working for someone, you'll sell anyone a car, let's be honest. Like,
it doesn't matter, because if it bounces back, it's not your problem.
Exactly. Well, then when you're working for yourself, you know, I'm glad you said that, because I turned around to one of the lads last week and said, I'm sorry, but you're not selling that customer a car. And, you know, whether people want to wear this or not, it's a fact. You know, it's just issue all over it. You know, they told us about how they chucked 2 cars back. They played the system. They've done this. They've done the other.
Yeah.
And why do we want to sell them a ar?
Look, let's not sugarcoat it. If they were applying for a bank loan and they'd already defaulted on 2 further bank loans, the bank would turn around and go, we don't want to lend you money. Why should we be any different? If a customer comes in and says, I've been a dickhead for 2 other dealerships, why would you go, well, be a dickhead to me as well then?
Yeah.
You wouldn't, would you? You would go, it's my money. It
happens quite often, doesn't it?
It's about being sure of everything it's about being sure that you've done everything right first, though, isn't it? If you have done absolutely everything, you've then got the confidence to be able to say to someone, I am confident in what I'm putting forward. And I think sometimes when people accept that bad business, they still haven't done everything right, because we see posts on Facebook all the time about, I've sold this person the car, they're being unreasonable. And the question I always ask first is, what prep did you do? Yeah, did you PDI it? And someone else will be like, well, how did you communicate to the customer? Or had you done this? And then things start coming out the woodwork, don't they? Oh, well, I didn't quite do that right, and I didn't quite do that wrong, but it's still the customer's fault. And yeah, that might be right, but you've got to get your shit in order first. To be in a position of saying, right, now I'm confident that if this customer's a dickhead, I can either say no, or I can fight it because I've done everything right and I can hold my head high.
Yeah, and that's why I said I think selling the car is actually just like 3% of the process. It's everything up until that puts you in a position where you can really capitalize on that 3%. So my standard process is I will make it look the fucking business all the way up until the car's being listed. And then when someone inquires about it, all of my stock is listed at good price indicators on Auto Trader, and I don't negotiate. If someone comes in and they say, look, I'll give you 7.5 and the car's up for 8, I go, no, I know it's a good price. You know it's a good price. It even says good price. You know it's in a better condition than anyone else's you've looked at. You've already told me that. You've already seen it's got a 50-point safety inspection. You've seen it's just had a full service, which is oil filter, air filter, fuel filter. It's got 12 months advisory-free MOT. You ain't going to find a better car. And then they always go, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
But you have to do it all, like you were saying, Nick, you have to get it all right up until that point to be able to do it.
That's because you've got the confidence in the process that you're following. That's the thing. You know, like if someone's not doing what you're doing, and this is what this is why you're teaching people to do this, is like, if someone's not doing all of that, how can they actually hand on heart sit there? You can sit behind the product that you're putting out and say, I want that.
Yeah, well, I think
I've got
this
£8,000
is-
for it. I want £8,000 for it because this is what we've done. And
yeah,
the customer has to, appreciate that. And the amount of transparency. I mean, I don't know whether you saw Nick, I put a post on about transparency a couple of days ago on LinkedIn. It was, we'd had a customer and we've gone through our prep process and everything else. And we noticed that one of the gear selectors wasn't quite right. Now, being argumentative, we could have put that vehicle out and wait for a problem. If there was a problem ever come up in the first 6 months. However, one of the guy that sold them the car rings him up and says, look, we've noticed that this could be an issue. So we are going to put it in and get the gear selector issue resolved. And then the customer comes in day before collection, just as the car's due back that day from getting it done. And we spent 800 quid making sure it was right at a proper transmission place. I don't want it. Fair enough, understand. But you do understand that we've done this knowingly that it could happen. If you're going to buy a car from anywhere else, will you get this level of transparency? And we've got confidence in the product that we're selling. And I think when you've got the confidence, you can be a little bit, should we say, hard-faced? Is that right thing to say about what price you want for it and the service that you offer because you've got passion for it?
Yeah, I think it's just honesty. I think it's just when I'm dealing with my customers, look, I'm not going to lie. I try and sell cars to customers that I can have a good laugh with because life's too short. I'm not working for anyone else. If I'm not enjoying the sales process and they're not enjoying the sales process, I see selling a car as a two-way street. I have to be happy with who I'm selling it to. They have to be happy with who they're buying it from. That way you get no fucking problems. And let's say something did happen 5 months down the line. You're not dealing with a dickhead. And they're going to be happy that you're going to intervene and get it sorted for them. And they're going to be a normal, rational human being that appreciates cars a bit with hundreds of thousands of components. Naturally, something's going to go wrong at some point. And I think that's where it all comes down to what you were saying, Steve, about mindset. And this is the struggle that I find. And I was chatting to a mate of mine the other night about it. And there's any dealership I've ever worked in, there's two types of salespeople. Both of them sit at the same desk. Both of them selling the same product. One of them earns 70 grand. One of them earns 30 grand. And what's the difference? How they deal with their customers, their mindset, how they actually deal people up. And I think the mindset is the biggest challenge, which is like if someone said to you, we want you to come out and consult for us. Yeah. And I guarantee 50% of the people you would go and consult to still wouldn't take anything you fucking said, would still make all the same fucking mistakes because it's almost a full-time job trying to change someone's mindset. We've got like to get them to run at a certain level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we've got like
not get in their own way.
There's a standard joke in our place because it's like if I'm sat in the sales office or whatever and I see someone or someone inquires or whatever, I'm like, that's a deal. That I do. I say it about every single inquiry or every single person, but I genuinely in my brain, and it's not just me saying it, genuinely in my brain, I'm thinking it is a deal because they've inquired, they're going to buy a car from somewhere, and I'll make damn sure this is how I was as a salesman, that if they're going to buy what, I'm going to do everything I can as an individual to sell that person a car, the full shooting match, and sell them the cars for the rest of their life. That's the other point.
But that'll be the difference between you earning 70 grand and someone else earning 30 grand. And that difference is being able to see past what's in front of you. I know that when I'm dealing with a customer, I'm hearing everything they're saying, I'm absorbing everything they're saying, but I've already mapped out the next 10 steps to get that process to where I need it to be. And then you've got other people that don't follow that sort of process, who just spend their life getting in their own way. And I mean, I've had it in the past where I've had sales guys working for me where they are making the customer's decisions for them without realizing it. Do you know what I mean? They're just assuming the customer's going to be negative about something before the customer's even said anything.
It's normally when they've not done any deals as well, or they've had a couple of like finance declines or something, and the world's caving in. Oh my God, everything I touch turns to shit. Well, it's funny when you're selling a load of cars, everything you touches turns to gold.
Yeah.
And why does it turn to gold? It's just mindset.
Yeah, because you
forget the one
skip
that was
across the
25.
showroom,
Yeah,
you meet
forget
the
the one
customer, and you go, "Hello, what are you buying from me today, then?"
yeah,
And then the other guy would go, "Do you need any help at all?"
yeah, and you forget the ones that just gone decline or whatever else, and you thought they were
Yeah.
full up Ronnie Rages that had all the products in and were making you a nice deal on that car, because your mindset is like, well, next. I'm like, you've got to leave that emotion and move on
I
to the next.
remember I was when I was a business manager, I had this guy whose name I won't mention. And anyway, Ryan, I fucking hated this little dickhead. And
That didn't take you long to change your mind on David and Shaving.
fuck it. I don't care if he watches, he should know. And the problem with him is our standard sales process was they would take the customer out for a test drive, come back, sit at the desk. They'd come into my office. I'd work up a deal with, a couple of add-ons chucked in, bits and pieces like that. And then they would go and present the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he would never be able to do it. He was always worried about offering them gap insurance. He was always worried about offering them paint and fabric protection. He was always worried about offering them, anything that was actually part of the sales process. And the reason why I hated him so much is because he was assuming the customer was going to say no. He wasn't giving them the opportunity to say yes. It's not his job to determine what that customer sees value in.
True.
And he's taking away that opportunity from the customer because he's scared of offering them something and hearing someone say no. He's scared of rejection. And because he's scared of rejection, he's taking away that opportunity from the customer to actually say, yes, I see value in that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the big difference in mindset between someone like Ryan, who would sell bugger all cars a year, and then some of my top sellers who would come in and I go, right, we got this, this, and this. They'd go out and they'd go, right, they've said they're happy with that, that, and that. They want to be here. And before I've even answered them, they go, but I reckon I can get them here.
Yeah.
And then we'd rework the deal. They'd go out and I would know it's done. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where the mindset thing really comes in. And that's why I wanted to create a platform where it's constant access, constant updates, constant communication and banter and stuff like that. Because if you are taking yourself out of that dealership environment where you have colleagues that you can bounce off, that you can joke with, that you can whinge to, and you go to doing it on your own, it's a very solitary, lonely existence. And when you're having a real shit day or something's gone wrong, you can't tell your wife. Let's be honest about this. She's not going to understand. She doesn't care. And as I feel as a bloke, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, I don't feel like we can share as much as our lifetime problems, especially on business decisions with our partners, because we don't want to worry them. I feel as a man, I'm a fixer. I'm a problem solver. I'm not a problem causer. And I think
but that weighs quite heavy. Might be going off subject a little bit here, but it is still part of this journey for people that they go through, because they need to understand that, being in business, and we can all vouch for this, is lonely and it is hard at times. And there is points where you doubt yourself, question whether you're doing the right thing. You mentioned a couple of people in the academy going. The reason that they are is because they're not taking action. And then they've probably got to a point of gone, shit, actually. And let's be honest, it isn't for everyone. That's the thing. It isn't. I've got some really good staff that openly turn around and say, I can't go and do it for myself, but I can do my job bloody well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that is part of the understanding that it ain't all, easy. It's not as easy as we set out on the outset. You have got to put there's a lot more graft to selling motors than what people think.
Yeah, I think if you're doing it the right way and you're doing it, responsibly and ethically and legally, I think there's 1,000 times more things than people realize that actually go into it. Mm-hmm. And when you especially when you go out on your own, if you haven't been in the motor trade, I think it's incredibly difficult. And I would say, 1 in 100 people would really be successful at it, because it takes years for your mindset to change, for you to be coded to the motor trade way of doing things. And this is why I don't really worry too much about these disruptors and stuff like that, is because they're trying to change a process that isn't changeable. You know, people, they're spending a huge amount of money. They're going to want a certain level of experience. You know, some people will buy online, but I don't think most of them will. I think most of them will want someone to sit there and go, well, can you explain this complicated fucking machine to me in a way that I'm going to understand? And someone sit there and go, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's true. That is, I look at the online disruptors and think I'd buy a car online, but then I think, why would I buy a car online? Well, because I've driven 3.
Because you know what you're fucking buying. You know cars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't need to test drive one. I know what a car drives me. I don't need to know what it does. Yeah.
I think the concept, though, of buying it online is misconstrued, right? It all starts online. It pretty much all starts online. We're all selling cars online. Yeah. That's the top and bottom of it. You know, where did they see the advert? Right? They want communication and they want reassurance is what they want. You know, especially in used cars. You know, we are all selling online. And it comes down to what Jason was saying about the level of detail that goes into doing the pictures, your preparation and everything else. That's the difference. Actually, anyone that's doing that, and it can vary, and there'll be people that are watching this, and you know, for us, for instance, it's hard to get to detail a car for 2 days. We can't do it. We're a volume dealer. So, you know, we'll do what we do. Don't get me wrong. We turn our vehicles out pretty well. Say we're volume, we're not supermarket or anything like that. But for us, it's the process isn't. We can't spend that time on doing a full detail on a vehicle, if that makes sense. But presentation, service, pre-preparation is the biggest one for us mechanically. You know, that's first and foremost. And I think if you're going through that process, right, it makes it different. I've totally lost part what I was actually talking about then, because I've gone off.
You know what's interesting on that though? It's Jason. Will you know, say
you were saying that everyone sells online.
Yes, sorry. Yeah. So the whole point of that is all of that process is geared up to sell online. It's just how you sell online. You know, can you do a customer video, private video, send it on WhatsApp? Are you willing to offer that service to your customer? And that's all it comes down to. That's selling online in the used car world. Different if you want to go and order a new car, because you might have seen it. You might want to go in and sit in the showroom. You can go on, click your extras, you know what you're getting, and it gets delivered to your door. But used cars is a bit different. They want reassurance. They want to speak to someone. They might want a personalized video. I mean, you know, several cars over the last week we've sold where they haven't physically been touched, felt, sat in the vehicle. But the service level that we've sat behind it with the personalized video, the reassurance, explaining the process that we go through, PDI, warranty, you know, we're FCA, you know, all the rest of it that comes with it. That's part of the selling online, not just click, 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 buy. I think that's the difference. You know, we've got people trying to say that, and don't get me wrong, you still get the odd customer, but it's a very, very small percentage that'll just hit buy. But everyone, pretty much everyone, apart from if you get a walk on, if you're on a forecourt or whatever, everyone is selling online.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know, it's just how you do it.
Yeah, I think from my side, the people that are going to be in the academy, the guys that are just starting out, are competing against you.
Yeah.
So we will spend 2 days detailing our cars and making sure our pictures are good, because that's the only way we can actually take business from you. No, you know, without making that sound too harsh.
I'd be doing the same if it was me. Yeah.
Yeah, and the more we do, you know, the better we get. You know, what used to take me 2 days now, I can have done in 4 hours. I can have a car machine polished, fully done inside and out, and wet vacked in 4 hours if I, you know, don't use my e-cigarette too much and stop and have a packet of crisps every 5 minutes. And that's what we have to do to even stand a chance at getting to your level. But there's 2 things that there's 2 things that are my favorite things, and the things that I think win over the traditional car sales route more than anything. There's 2 things you can't do when clicking buttons online. That's test drive and shake hands. And I think those two bits are the two most important parts of a used car sales process, especially when you're dealing in, and our stock is probably completely different to yours. You know, if we're selling cars that's done 10 years old and 117,000 miles, they're going to want to test drive it to make sure it hasn't got knocks and bangs. You know, we haven't got 150 used cars in stock. They want to make sure that we're, you know, legitimate and doing everything properly. And as much as we've got, I don't know, say 65-star reviews on Auto Trader, you know, that only builds confidence so much.
Yeah.
But I don't, you know, these online disruptors and stuff like that, I think it's all bollocks. And I just don't think you can change. You can adapt it and you can do things in a different way, but I just don't think it's ever going to be.
I think it's just taking the best
like
bits
ordering a
from
vacuum cleaner from Argos. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's taking the best bits from everything. You know, it's like, that's the way I look at things. It's like, you know, the say detailing, for instance, yeah. We still run a buffer. We still fully, you know, we will still fully buff a car if it needs to be done. We've had to really put a really tight process in because of timescales to deliver what we want to deliver. And we're not a mass volume dealer by any stretch of the imagination. We chuck out a decent enough number. That's it. Yeah. But we've still got to have a tight process with it. And we still see that our advantage over a car supermarket or a 200-300 car retailer a month is that we can still do that bit of the process better, which is it's interesting because you can spend more time on doing it better than us on in terms of that. Do you know what I mean? The images and stuff, we can't wait till, and I'd love to do what you're doing. Honestly, I'd love to do it because I'd love to have that look.
Well, just join the academy. It's called profitwhip.com. It's free to join. All the modules are in there.
Love it.
Do you know what? This is interesting though, because a lot of small dealers will go, I'm not going to do it as well as a an established car dealer because I haven't got time. But what you're saying, Jason, is actually that at that starting out level, you can actually do it better to a degree.
Yeah, I think you've got nothing but time to care. You've got nothing but time to go, this is my money, this is my stock. How can I make it the best I possibly can? And I've got cars that are for sale at the moment that I still want to do stuff to. But I've just had another load of vehicles turn up. So now I'm going to get those ready and get those up for sale. And I think when you are starting out, I think it is easier to give more of a shit, especially when it is your own money. But I don't think that I don't think that you have to sacrifice that main dealer standard still. I sold an iX35 at the beginning of the month. Two nice ladies. They wanted to negotiate over the price. I wasn't having any of it. They didn't appreciate that too much, but they understood, especially when I took 2 other inquiries on the vehicle whilst they were spending 2 hours looking around it, which is always nice when it happens.
Yeah.
And then she messaged me yesterday saying the aircon's not working and the handbrake's not really holding the car. And I said, well, it did go away 12 months of advisory-free MOT, so obviously the handbrake was holding. So maybe the cable's just stretched a little bit and needs adjusting. The air conditioning was operational because I tested it myself, so the gas has probably only just run out. Don't panic about it. You've had the car less than 30 days. Bring the car back. Here's the phone number. Book it in with the workshop I use, and I'll pay for both those bits to be done because you've had it less than 30 days. And she really appreciated it. But that's why I don't negotiate on the fucking price of my cars.
Yeah.
Because I know that once I've sold vehicles, no matter how good of a job we do, there is always going to be some extra spend afterwards. And for us to deliver that level of customer care, we need that money in the bank to spend on them after. And I don't know, it's a difficult one because I think Steve's right. I think there's only a small proportion of people that are really actually going to be able to do it and have that right mindset. I think there is a lot of confusion between what the job actually is and what people actually think it is and their obligations to customers and the Consumer Rights Act and things like that. But I think it's all very easily taught. It just needs to be out there and not hidden away. People thinking it's their only, little secret that's doing them a favor. It's not. We need to get rid of this fucking stigma that car dealers are cowboys. And not only that,
yeah. Is that your mission, Jason? Because I want to know why are you helping everyone else to do it?
Well, I like making money, and it earns me money, so that's a bonus.
But was that your initial intention, though? Because
No.
I wouldn't think when you started filming your first car of prepping it that your intention was that you could have an academy and sell some products and whatever else.
No, I didn't really have an initial intention. I just thought, fuck it, let's see what happens. And then the first academy started to gain traction, and then obviously we've got this one. And then since meeting some of the people that I've built really good friendships with, especially Christian, there are some people out there who genuinely want to build a business buying and selling cars and doing it the right way. And I think there's two intentions for it. One is it's to empower people that they can do it the right way and earn more money by doing it the right way and have fewer problems by doing it. You know, there is a sales process to selling cars. And if you follow that sales process, you will earn more money. Mm-hmm. You will have fewer problems and fewer expenditures afterwards, after the car's left you, by doing it properly. Mm-hmm. And also, you know, it's to make these horrible little wankers on Facebook that are just buying and selling cars and just, you know, flipping them for 200 quid is to almost make them look stupid. Mm-hmm. You know, you're ripping people off for 200 quid. You could have made 1,200 quid and not ripped someone off if you had just done it the right way. Yeah. And I think we need to get away from this stigma of that car dealers are bad people, because 90% of the car dealers I've come across aren't. But I think the problem is it's almost too transparent because of part exchanges. A customer knows how much we bought their car for, and they see how much we're selling it for. Yeah. They think we ripped them off because they see it's got $3,000 on top. What they don't take into consideration is all of the levels of preparation and the expenditure in between. So then they go, well, you've ripped me off. You're a cowboy. But what they don't do is turn around to their fucking estate agent and go, you just charged me $5,000, you ripped me off. Or their solicitor, you just charged me $10,000, you ripped me off. There seems to be all these other industries where we just go, well, I don't know what that money was for, so I'll just accept it must have been for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But somehow with cars,
they don't think about the prep, the advertising cost as well, you know, because that is the overheads. Yeah. You're, if you've got staff to pay, everything else that comes into it. And then your VAT. If you're VAT registered, if you're a VAT registered dealer, you've got 20% VAT. And then if you've got, you know, a limited company, you've got 19% corporation tax. You know, it's actually, by the time we net it back, we're not working for a lot.
No, you know, by the time, I mean, I will realistically make on average £1,000 per car after VAT and all other expenses. Yeah. But then out of that £1,000, I still have to pay my insurance. I still have to pay for advertising packages. I still have to pay corporation tax, income tax. You know, there's two directors in the business that we need to sort out, you know, returns for and stuff like that. But I think it's almost, I think the reason why we get given a bad name is because there are just horrible little bastards out there doing a bad job.
Yeah.
And for those of us that are doing a good job, we're almost tarnished with this horrible little bastard attitude. Because they know how much we gave them for their part exchange, and they know how much we're retailing for, but they don't know what we did with it in between. And it's I don't know, it's a strange one. I think, you know, the stigma is always going to be there a little bit.
I was just about to say that it's a stigma that doesn't really seem like it's going to go away. And no. As long, I mean, my approach to that is, as long as we're doing everything the right way, with the right intentions, with transparency, and doing the job to the best of our ability, you know, and we're open, we're transparent, you know, well, it was ours, said to, you know, I sit and say to customers, you know, we haven't got a crystal ball, you know, if there's an issue, but what we do in the pre-preparation process is try and eliminate any issues coming up, you know, but if you do get one, we'll deal with it as long as it's within the parameters that are there to be dealt with. You know, you get a customer ringing up after a year, Nick know what this is about, you know, thinking that, you know, a year, 7,000 miles later and everything else and they didn't take an extended warranty, to which, you know, it was offered and all the rest of it comes with it. Bad guy. And, you know, it happens. It does happen, and you just have to accept that we can't get it right all the time, but we're doing everything right, and we're doing everything with the right intention, and we're following the rules of the law, if that makes sense, at the same time. And if you can do that, you can actually have confidence in what you're putting out.
Yeah, I remember I had when I first started and I was trying to change my stock profile a little bit. I had a VW Golf in stock, which I don't normally tend to retail that sort of stuff because they do tend to attract penises for some reason. And this mum and her boyfriend came out, bought it for the young lad who had just written his car off, and I should have gone off. Fuck it, I can't be bothered. But I sold them the car. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, the mum phones up saying that there's a warning light on the dashboard and it needs to be sorted out. I went, yeah, no worries, book it in with the workshop. Let's have a look. So we booked it into the workshop. There was a warning light on the dashboard, and we couldn't figure out what this warning light was related to. We couldn't figure out what had caused it. The car was driving fine. Everything was absolutely spot on with the vehicle. I had no idea about it. So I phoned up an auto electrician who I've used quite a few times and I'm quite friendly with. And he had a look through it, and he is spot on, this guy. And he will tell me literally everything. And he said, does anyone else mess around with this car? And I said, well, not to my knowledge. And he said, well, I've gone in there and I couldn't figure it out either for a little while until I started to look at what the old code was in the ECU. And the code is exactly the same, bar one digit. And instead of a 0, it's been changed to a 1. So I changed it back to a 0 and the light went off. And I went, right. And he said, so I changed it back to a 1 and the light came back on. So then I looked at what that light corresponded to, and it was hill assist. The car's not fitted with hill assist. So he thinks what someone's done is someone's gone in there and tried to activate features the car doesn't have.
Because it's quite popular with VWs.
They all go. Yeah, they all got that fucking bollocks on their laptops or whatever, and they go in and start fucking around with things that they think the car's got when it actually doesn't. So then I phoned up the mum, and I said, look, I'm not saying this is the case, but we've done our investigations, and here's what we found. Has your son been in there messing around with stuff? Or is there something else we need to look at? And she went, no, he's definitely not messing around with it. He would never do that. He would never do that. I went, fair enough, that's fine. Well, then we need to find out why this light mysteriously came on. So what I'll do is I'll send it away to VW because they'll be able to see who's been in there, when they did it, and what time. And if we know it was done whilst you had ownership of the vehicle, you'll be paying for my time, you'll be paying for Ben's time, and you'll be paying for VW's time. And I'll also cancel your warranty because you've been in there messing around with stuff you shouldn't be. Or alternatively, he can come clean and say he had messed around with it. We'll sort it out and you just pay for my times, Ben's time, and I'll let you keep your warranty. And she goes, well, I don't think he has, but I'll check. 5 minutes later, yeah, he did do
it. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is the thing that people don't fucking realise is I genuinely believe like half of the margin we actually fucking earn for is actually absorbed by dickheads.
No, it is. It is. And that is exactly right. Because, you know, the extent to what some people will go to try and get what they want after they've bought a vehicle from you.
Yeah, just be honest. What, you know, if she had just gone, he's fucked around with something, he's a little penis, he probably shouldn't have. Can you sort it out? It would have taken half an hour, not 4 days. In the end, she ended up paying me 800 quid.
It's funny because it's like car insurance, isn't it? Like we pay car insurance, and your car insurance is, I don't know, 1,500 quid or that. Let's go say £1,000 for the year. And if you've paid £1,000 and I've been driving for, I don't know, 20 years, I haven't caused £20,000 worth of damage to vehicles. Yeah.
Not that you would admit to.
Not that I would admit to. But someone's made £20,000 worth of damage in one accident. Well, you don't get billed according to what you've cost. It's the same with margins in cars. You might make £2,000 on this car, £2,000 the next, £2,000 the next one, but then an engine goes that costs you £4,000 to fix, and it's got to come out of everyone's margins. But customers are like, well, my car's fine, so why have you got to make that margin out of my part exchange? Well, that's just not how it works, is it? You know.
That's a very good point. Never even put it that way before, actually. Never thought about it like that.
Jason, we probably should wrap up as we're getting up to an hour, but I didn't expect any less from you because we always have a great conversation. Do you want to just tell people kind of where they can find your YouTube channel, your academy, and, you know, if anything's been interesting, where they can kind of find a bit more about what you do?
Well, the YouTube channel is called Tire Kickers, obviously, because it's us just fucking about with cars. And, you know, who doesn't fuck about with cars more than tire kickers? So the YouTube channel is called Tire Kickers. If you're interested in buying and selling cars and knowing how to do it properly, the website is profitwhip.com, which has got like an explainer video. It's free to join. There's loads of shit in there that you can get on with. I'm not going to give it the hard sell. You're either interested or you're not. And that's kind of it, really. It's just if you're interested in
drop them links.
Cars, have a look.
We'll try and drop them links in with this video at the same time. And then,
yeah, you're not getting any referrals though. I'm not paying you.
Man, it's going to put UTM tracking on there, Nick, and everything, just so we know the conversion ratio.
Well, you said you were selling your house. I just don't want you turning around to your wife going, "Hey, we don't have to sell the house anymore. We're going to get some referrals from Jason."
Love it. Brilliant. Well, thanks for coming on, Jason. Appreciate it. Been great to meet you.
Yeah, no worries. It's been emotional. It's always nice to have a chat about the motor trade and all the bollocks that goes on with it.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, we'll catch up with everyone next time. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, if everyone wants to follow our YouTube channel, if you're just listening to this in audio and not having to see our beautiful faces, then just find Motor Trade Talk on YouTube. Like the videos because it all helps. Subscribe to the channel. And if you are watching on YouTube, pick up the podcasts on all the usual podcast channels.
Perfect.